Okay, in this week's Torah portion, 3 things happen. First, there's some spies. The spies are going into the land of Canaan. They're checking it out. They're like, is this a place where we can go? Is this in fact the promised land? Guess what happens? They go in there, they see fruit that's gigantic. Here's what happens. They go back to the Hebrews, and they're like, hey, look, gigantic fruit, but there's just one problem. There's giants in this land, and they're going to totally overpower us. That's what 10 of the spies said. 2 of them said, no, we'll be fine. Everything will be okay. We can defeat them. But the group of 10 is scaring everybody, and the Hebrews cry, and they're like, see, we should have stayed in Egypt. We should have stayed in Egypt. There's no way that we can go into the promised land. We can't defeat these people. Cry, cry, cry. So God says, you know what? I'm done with you people. I'm done with your generation. Your generation can't stand up. Your generation doesn't want to be free. You're still in that slave mindset. So you know what I'm going to make you do? This is part 2. I'm going to make you wander the desert for 40 years. Your generation's going to die out, and then what will happen? A new generation pops up. Part number 3. You need to learn some ritual. You got to learn about the Shabbat. You got to learn about meal offerings and meat offerings. Okay, tying it all together. We're a generation, a certain generation. Call us the Millennials, Generation Next, which I think is like a Coke or Pepsi thing. I don't know. Generation.com, Generation Y, whatever you're into. But we're a new generation. Some of us are more secular. Some of us are more religious. Either way, we identify as Jews, right? But here's the thing. It's not good enough to just say you're a Jew. You got to have something that's going to connect you. There's a promised land. There's a promised future that's out there. Big things are happening all the time. We're going to go to that land. So what does God say? Old generation, you're gone. You are not going to enter this new world. Well, of course they're not. They're too old. Young people are going to. So they're going to die off. But here's the thing. The new generation comes in. We've got to have something to sort of bind us together. We've got to have something that's going to, help us to get into this new world, right? Okay? What's that going to be? Well, in God's mind, in this particular Torah portion, it's ritual. It's not good enough to just be a Jew by a parent, or a Jew by a last name, or a Jew by where you grew up. You got to have something that's going to lead you into that new world. And in this case, it's ritual. It's why when you go in every Jewish home, even if they're not religious, you're probably going to see a menorah, and you're probably going to see a mezuzah. It makes sense. You got to have this sort of stuff, this Jewish clock of holidays and different kinds of activities and all of these ritual items. Those unite us together. So, for the future, for all of the young people who are going into the land of milk and honey, and as the older generation dies, what do we need to look at? We need to look at being more Jewish through ritual.